What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Speaking of quarterback, though, right? There's only a few that people accept on, like I said. And it's funny because Derek Carr is kind of right on that line about is he acceptable or not at that position. And to be clear, in my definition, I'm saying guys like, certainly Russell Wilson last year, but like Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't think that most would say I'm talking about guys that you're like happy and confident that he is the starter on your team. A lot of Saints fans feel that about Derek Carr. A lot do not. I think he's kind of right on that line. And with this USA Today ranking, that's exactly where they have him. They have him at 16th in the NFL. Jake, off the bat, not looking at the list, Derek Carr being ranked 16, too high or too low?
About right.
Okay.
About right. I think he's a top 15 quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's right on that edge of 15. So I think that's about right.
And you know, it's funny because I saw 16. I'm like, no way. He's like a top 5 quarterback in the NFC. How can you be a top 5 quarterback in the NFC and be all the way down there at 16? And then you look at the list, and the highest I can push him here is 14. And even then, I don't think people are going to agree with one of the people I'm bumping down. Like, I would have no problem. Matt Stafford's right ahead of him. I would have no problem putting Derek Carr in front of Matt Stafford, but I get that a lot of people aren't going to agree with that. I do not understand Kyler Murray at 12. I think everything we've learned about Kyler Murray has been negative. Like, nobody has anything good to say about him from a leadership perspective. He multiple years in a row now, he's put up stats at the beginning of the season, only to completely fizzle out. He's dealing with injury problems. He doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins anymore. Did I hear a conversation before the show?
Yeah.
Are you a Kyler? So you're bullish on Kyler Murray.
No, in this particular conversation, I will play devil's advocate, I guess. Like, he deserves all the criticism he's gotten. Like, the video game clause in the contract was wild, but I also think he's kind of been a victim of bad leadership over there in Arizona. Like Keim and Kingsbury, the show they were running, I don't think was very conducive for, a young player to develop leadership skills. So maybe a new regime will help Kyler.
It's interesting to think about because bad leadership is one of my main critiques of Kyler Murray. But you're right. I mean, you have to have someone sometimes like kind of show you the way. But I mean, Jake, has he taken over as BBL King?
Bad body language king.
He's
pretty
always
bad.
like sucking his teeth at his
Yeah,
teammates.
I think it's
and,
pretty
like,
bad.
turning his back on coaches.
And when you hear stories from his teammates, they're not like overwhelmingly like, no, that's not him. He's fine. Like, he's a leader. You don't hear that. Right now, they don't come out. They don't come out and bash him necessarily, but when they're not like going over the top to let you know, yeah, there's some real bad Jay Cutler body language coming out of Kyler Murray.
Yeah, so like I would put Murray probably behind Carr. Like I said, I think Stafford's kind of done too.
And Murray's skill set's interesting, but can that translate? Can you get it to work? Can it be for a full 17 games? Those are the conversations.
So I think Derek Carr is appropriately rated in this list for the most part because I think Jared Goff is better now, and he's ahead of him.
Jared Goff had a really solid season last year.
Yeah, I think Kirk Cousins is better. He's ahead of him. You got Aaron Rodgers checking in at 11. Yeah, that makes sense. Justin Herbert at 10. Justin Herbert at 10, Jake. How do we feel about that?
I saw another one. I'm trying to find the one. I thought I pulled up the same one that y'all had, but I have another one that had him at 5. But
ahead of Herbert right now, this list has Geno Smith, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, there's no world that Tua Tagovailoa is a quarterback that's ahead of Justin Herbert.
Or Geno. I mean, I know Geno had a good year, but he's not better than Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Both true.
Geno does throw a pretty-ass deep ball.
He does.
Though. My God.
Well, and who doesn't love Geno's story?
Yeah.
It's awesome. And I love Trevor Lawrence's story. Having to come through. Speaking of Mario, there's maybe a point to your Kyler Murray point, right? Look at Trevor Lawrence under Urban Meyer compared to Doug Peterson. Now, the difference is I don't know that Jonathan Gannon, I don't know that Jonathan Gannon's going to be Doug Peterson.
That was my point when me and Mario were talking. I was like, yeah, they got new leadership. Is the leadership better? Like, do we know yet?
He's a defensive guy, though. Doug Peterson's like a quarterback whisperer.
Yeah, and not exactly the same, but we all laughed at Sirianni, too, when he took the Eagles job, right? His press conference, he was stambling.
Clowned his press conference.
Let me throw another one at you, though. Adam Gase for the Jets.
Clowned his press conference, and that ended up being an absolute disaster.
Doug Peterson interviewed for the Saints job.
Yeah, Doug Peterson already feels just infinitely more interesting. Like, you would feel way better about the Saints team if Doug Peterson was head coach. We can accept that, though. We can accept that. It is what it is. I mean, it's a man who loves him some Louisiana. Would have been whatever. Boys, no use in crying over spilled milk, okay? For better or for worse, you're rolling with DA this year. But I want to be clear. I don't have any actual belief in DA, right? I know he's a good defensive coach. I just mean, like, this is a prove-it year. Where if they're bad again, well, then the writing's on the wall, and unfortunately, some change is going to have to be made.
Yeah, I have faith in Loomis, I guess, and Loomis still has some faith in him, and the roster's a lot better, so I'll ride with Dennis this year.
Yeah, and a lot rides with Pete Carmichael when you talk about Dennis Tatum. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Can he utilize all these weapons?
No, the roster and what Mickey's put together looks great right now on paper. He did a lot of the same things last year, but it never came together. You had a bunch of guys miss with injuries. You got to stay healthy in the NFL. It doesn't matter who you are. You got to stay healthy. But right now, like, you fixed tight end. Still some offensive line questions, which is crazy considering they're all first-round picks.
I know, that's my biggest
running back seems like you've got that figured out. Certainly, you go and sign a stud, you draft a stud, and you got AK coming back as well. Looks like going to be there for more games than we thought he initially would be there for. Receiver, you've added. A.T. Perry, I can't wait to watch him and see how it plays out for him.
I'm excited to see Mike Thomas still.
So
I'm a Mike Thomas believer.
I think to an extent, some people have forgotten how good Lattimore is, too. Lattimore missed 10 games last year.
True.
It makes a huge difference if he's on the field. I know people are hoping for good health with Michael Thomas, and that would make a big difference. But if Lattimore could have a little bit better injury fortune this year, I think that'd go a long way.
Yeah, no, I would say that's an interesting question that you kind of posed there. If you could only have one have the good injury luck, I would go with Lattimore.
Yes.
For sure.
Especially given how good the rest of the secondary kind of is now.
Yeah, Lante Taylor and Paulson and Debo are pretty sexy as well there. So
you need an edge rusher to go with Cam. I mean,
yeah, he's still again another. That's what's funny. Your two biggest question marks are the positions that you've tried to pour the most resources into.
Yeah, he drafted another one in the second round this year.
But yeah, I'm just really worried about left tackle, man, and Trevor Penning. How good can he be? I think you
at least you have Hurst there. Left guard, ain't just Pete. Like, healthy or not healthy, you still worry.
Hurst was solid. But Hurst is passable, Throckmorton's passable. But if the Saints, I think, want to be good, they might need a good left tackle. I mean, or it feels disrespectful to Hurst, but whatever, he is what it is. I mean, he's not a disaster, which is ideally what you want out of your backup. Can you hold your own and maintain? But I mean, Trevor Penning's a first-round pick. You want your first-round pick left tackle to end up being one of the better guys in the league. But we'll see, coming off injury.
Outside of Carr, who's the most important player on the team?
Most important player on the whole team.
Yeah, outside of Derek Carr.
I got a guy. I'm gonna go Demario Davis, and not because you're a little thin at linebacker, but like Cam and Demario are your leaders on defense. Like, outside of them, like, which veteran presence is gonna step up and lead that defense? Demario Davis was very important to this team.
Yeah, I mean, certainly from a leadership perspective. What if you took leadership out of it, though, and we're just doing, like, just playing, like, just the actual play? Then I might go with a Cam Jordan because you're already so weak on the edge. If you lose him, who do you have left? Or I could go with the Trevor Penning, again, because I think so much rides on that position.
I'm still going with Lattimore. We talk all the time about cornerback being, like, the hardest position other than QB. And just his presence almost takes away a whole side of the field. So I'd go with Lat.
I'll actually go the other corner spot, whether it's a Debo or a Lante Taylor. I mean, we know what Marcus Lattimore is, or Marshawn Lattimore. If he stays healthy, like, what are you going to get out of a Debo and Taylor? Are you going to have a number 2 corner that can really lock it down as well? I agree with Mario.
And that could be a fun competition between those two guys, this training camp.
Yeah, I think Marcus May needs to be better at the safety position. You gave him a lot of money to play better than I thought he did a year ago. So that's somebody that I think needs to be paid attention to in training camp. You went and got Jonathan Abram, who was a high draft choice as well, to maybe push him, maybe give him some competition there. We'll see how that plays out. But Marcus May, the money he's making, he's going to be out there, but you need better play from him. Carl Granderson is another player that might fall into this category because he's going to be on the other side.
Yeah.
Of Cam Jordan. Now, if Isaiah Foskey can show up in flashes, that'd be great. But Granderson's going to be the starting end more than Foskey's going to be out there. And you need somebody to step up to help out Cam Jordan.
We will see. Trigger warning for the top 5 here. Dak Prescott, 5th on the list. How are we feeling about it, Taylor?
It's too high.
Where would you rank Dak Prescott?
34.
No, not 34. I'd probably put him 12, 13, somewhere in there.
Okay, that's not too bad. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.